Good morning. How's everyone doing? It's not a live stream. It's a pre-recorded video. Just wanted to get out of the house today and go for a little walk. The topic of this video is we're living in a human zoo. We are living in a human zoo, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I feel like weird. I feel weird about people. It's like I'm happy with the world I live in. I'm happy with nature. You know, I'm happy with the earth and, you know, animals, the ocean, you know, but it's these people, bro. There's something wrong with people. Not everyone, you know, there's good people. And I don't want to be that doom and gloom guy that's like, it's the end of the world and everybody's messed up and evil. But there's a lot of bad people. And I think it makes it where good people just stay to themselves because, you know, it's better to be by yourself than take a risk, you know, getting to know someone who's gonna ruin your life, you know. But it feels like there's not a lot of people because everyone's to themselves, the decent ones, you know. And I don't blame people who are decent staying to themselves. I stay to myself because of the same reason. I don't trust anyone. You know, I do not trust anyone. I think I've been burned too many times to give my, you know, loyalty to people, you know, so easily. So I try and love people and like people from a distance, you know, and that goes for everyone, you know, family, friends, you know, and I just find it easier being alone. It's like people are just too comfortable being docile. People are too comfortable being asleep, and people are too comfortable following patterns. I can't stand being trapped in like a pattern. You know, I can't stand doing the same shit every day. You know, I always like mixing it up. I always like trying new things. I always like, you know, reasonably. You know, I'm not reckless. You know, I'm not just out here. I just want to, you know, start shit just to get, you know, a thrill. You know, I just want to run the streets and just, no. You know, there's time to rest, you know, and that's the thing, it's time to rest. And then there's time to, you know, go on a journey and adventure. But I just feel like, I don't know, people are just, they're like all brainwashed, you know, and no matter how bad this world gets, it's like no one seems to be anxious or, you know, frustrated. You know, and it's like the people who are making a difference, the people who are out there, you know, pounding the pavement, you know, trying to, you know, get the word, you know, the voice out there, acknowledging the evil of the world. It's like, it feels like their messages go on, you know, to deaf ears. And it's just like, no matter how much has been unveiled, like the Epstein files, you know, how much has been explained, it's just like, and it's like, yeah, I get it. It's stressful, you know, it's nothing, you know, that we can do, you know, from what I know. It's like, what can we do, you know, other than, you know, bring up awareness, other than force your elected officials to you know, to seek justice. But we all know that's not going to happen. You know, this country wasn't built off of justice. This country wasn't built off of, you know, honor and truth. It's built off of slavery and brutality and lying, you know. So, I mean, it makes sense, you know, when you really look at it, why people are the way they are. It's the way this country has been built, you know. As long as we're not the ones being abused, we could care less about those who are getting abused. Sorry, it's so hot out here, I'm sweating, but it's good. You know, I feel like things are just so corrupted now in humanity that there's nothing we can really do to stop this, man. You know, you're talking about the wealthy elite who control the internet, who are making AI, you know, drones, you know, biological warfare. These people have an unlimited, unknowing amount, only God knows, kind of weaponry at their disposal to eliminate, you know, the good people. You know, the warriors who would defend, you know, the righteous and the innocent, you know. And I think so many good people are scared, you know, that's why we keep our heads down. We stay to ourselves. We don't even try to, because it feels like an unwinnable war, you know. But, you know, I don't think it's just all to blame on the elites. I think there's a lot of weakness in society. There's a lot of weak people, you know, and I think people confuse nice with good. And I mean, nice is nice, but you know, I think good is strength. You know, it's like, it's one thing to be nice, but you know, it's another thing to be good. It's good, in my opinion, and is standing up against evil. Nice is just like opening doors for people, being you know, hospitable and kind, you know, and speaking kindly to people. That's nice, but that's not good. That's more of just a characteristic. You know, that doesn't really make you a good person. You know, there's plenty of evil people who are capable of being nice. You know, even though I don't like using the term evil because I think it gives people too much power. Like, you know, when we call it like Donald Trump evil, it's like we're giving this man way too much power. He's more of like an imbecile. You know, he's just more of an imbecile puppet that's used by his family who's part of secret societies, as well as all the other presidents. But you know, it's just like, it just feels like we're all in a zoo. You know, and it's like people are just on their phones, you know, playing their video games, watching sports, you know, gossiping, you know, on Instagram, TikTok, you know. And then yes, you could go outside, you see people going and, you know, to sporting events, you know, going out to eat. But it's like a trick mirror. It's an illusion. It's like what do you call it? Like an oasis? No, oasis, like a mirage. It's like a mirage. You know how you're in the desert and you look for water, and you're so thirsty that from a distance you can see something that looks like a pond of water, but when you get closer, it disappears because your brain is just so desperate for water. It's the same thing with humanity. Same thing with looking for humanity in people. Is that from a distance you can see a family at a park, you can see, you know, a couple at a restaurant, you can see a group of friends coming into a theater, and from a distance, like, oh, those are human beings. But if you sit next to them for me, it doesn't take long. Like literally, give me like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and I will just pick up their energy. Be like, yeah, these are biobots, these are droids, these are NPCs. That's the thing. All you gotta do is just sit around people for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and listen to them talk, and realize, my God, you know. And it's just like everyone says the same talking points. Everyone's always bringing up the news. Everyone's always talking about the trending topic of the day, you know, because they don't really have any conscious or critical thinking abilities of their own. So all they do is just regurgitate everything they see on the internet. And then we sit here for hours discussing and debating something that was provided by us by, you know, the elites. You think the news and the media is meant to just entertain us or inform us? No, it's meant to manipulate us and, you know, control us. Man, it's hot out here. But even when I walk by people, I always feel like this weird, I don't know. It just feels like I'm not even like the same species. It really does feel like I'm like an alien, you know, because I always like catch people like just staring at me, like, and it's not just staring like, oh, who's that? It's like staring like almost like what is that? Like almost like resentment. It's almost like fear. It's almost like I'm disturbing them. It's not like, hey, you know. And then it's like, I always think, haven't these people been raised by parents that taught them to not stare at strangers? It's very rude. But no, it's like, and it's not a few people, it's a lot of people that act like that. It's like and it's like, I'm not even doing anything. I'm not even trying to be a attention seeker or anything. I'm not trying to get their attention. But it just feels like when you come into a room and you have a pure energy, being pure doesn't mean you're perfect. Being pure doesn't mean you're always innocent. I think purity is just being honest, being just you. You know, you're not trying to have an agenda. You know, being human is messy, it's sloppy. You know, but when you have a pure soul, you're honest, an honest spirit. You know, you walk into a room of fake NPCs, you trigger them and you make them feel like they're fake. You make them feel like, wait, what's that? You know, you're like Neo walking into a room of Agent Smiths. You know, and that's what makes them so like triggered. Like, wait, what the hell? Why is he? How do you have this energy? Where did you get this energy from? You know. Because they're so used to fake personalities. They're so used to people pretending. They're so used to, you know, people performing humanity. You know, so when they see an actual real human, it's like, whoa, what the hell? You know, it's like someone, you know, playing Call of Duty, you know, World War II, and then actually getting into a time machine and get thrown into D-Day, you know, thrown into Normandy. You know, it's like they're going to be in shell shock, because it's like, it's one thing to play a video game and simulate, you know, warfare compared to being thrown into actual warfare. You know, it's the same thing. I think it's the same thing with, you know, being fake and pretending to be human and being around fake humans, and then seeing a real human, and it's just like, whoa! I don't know the protocol for this. You know, you make these people glitch out. I think if you have a real spirit, you make these people glitch out, man. Like truly, you make these people glitch out. Man, it's hot. Sorry, I gotta get some paper towel. I have some napkins. I just need to wipe myself up. I'm sweating like crazy. But yeah, you know. And plus, I wanted to do this like a video because I hate doing live stream videos. You know, like lectures, because then like after I'm done, the camera is like the angle is all fucked up. It's like linear. I want it like this, like horizontal, so it looks better after I'm done. I know that sun is probably like making it hard to see. Damn it. But yeah, I'm trying to just keep it going, man. I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to keep my head up, you know. And the more I get away from people, the more I isolate myself, the more confidence I'm getting back, you know. And plus, I got rid of that whole belief in Jesus and all that Christ stuff. It's like, and there's nothing against people who are Christians and nothing against people who are religious. I just personally don't think it works for me. I think I have too much of a creative mind, and I question things too much. And just the whole religion to me is just too restrictive, and it really, personally for me, dumbs people down. It makes us where we don't think outside the box. We're afraid. We're literally taught to. It's like everything's a sin. Everything is a sin. If you have any sexual ideals, or if you have any kind of dark ideas, you're a sinner. You're gonna die. It's like we're human, dude. So what are we supposed to do? Walk every day and feel ashamed of ourselves and just basically bundle up? You know, all that does, all that does is create a whole backlog of shame to the point people just dive into being evil. Because then they're like, well, fuck it. I have so much shame. I might as well just be a criminal. You know, instead of not thinking about religion and actually like absorbing and sitting with the wrongdoing you do, rather than saying, I sinned, I'm going to go to the priest and confess my sins. No, you don't need to confess your sins to a priest. Confess your sins to yourself. Redeem yourself. You know, have shame. Absorb that shame. You know, sit with it. You know, don't just push it off to God or say, I sinned, or go to church and say, please forgive me. It's like, no, sit with it. Feel shameful. Sit with it. You know, you got to sit with it. Some people just don't want to feel comfortable. That's why people get into religion, so they don't have to feel uncomfortable. You know, I meant to say uncomfortable. But yeah, you know, people don't want to be uncomfortable. So that's why they get in religion, to feel comfortable. So that when they commit sin, they can just go pray to a fictional character and then feel, how the fictional character knows what I've done. So now I don't need to do any changings. I don't have to adjust myself. No, you know. Man, it's like hot as hell out here. All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna be right back, okay? Sorry, I accidentally clicked it off. But anyway, yeah, it just feels like we're living in a human zoo, man. You know, it's just like, I don't feel like I'm even human. Like, I don't feel like I associate with these beings. You know, I could play along, you know, for a certain amount of time. I could, you know, put on the mask, so to speak. But really, I don't feel like I relate to these people. You know, and my brain is really weird. And it's like, then again, that's why I'm almost like, I'm not even sure if something wrong with me. That's why I feel better by myself, because I'm already a complicated thinking person, and I don't understand myself, or you know, it's hard enough getting my thoughts processed, and that's why it becomes overwhelming when I'm trying to process my own thoughts, and then I got people around me who are doing weird, you know, stuff, you know, and it's like, we're all weird, but I think there's a level, like you should have the ability, the bare minimum is to regulate yourself or to control yourself. You know, we're all weird, but that's what makes us civilized people, is if we can control our weirdness, you know, around each other, you know. And I know that's like, you know, that could be looked at as like, well, isn't that what we're dealing with now? Is everyone's putting on a show? But there's a difference between being civilized and being fake. Being civilized is being genuine, like I am holding myself back because out of respect for you, you know, or respect for people who don't know me in public, you know. But you know, it's like there's no off switch to these people. You know, everything is fake. everything is a performance. Nothing. It's all just. That's why I just don't fucking want to be around people. Pardon my French. I just don't want to be around people because I find people very malicious. It's like and then if they're not malicious, then they're docile. And I think the docile people upset me more than the malicious people, because at least the malicious people, I know what I'm dealing with. And if I had some people who had their eyes open, we can handle business. But when you have docile people, it's like it's frustrating because you're seeing someone who seems nice, who seems genuine, who seems like they are a caring individual, but then when you bring to their attention some injustice, some wrongdoing, it's as if they're almost like condoning it. Like they're almost like turning a blind eye to wickedry. Like there's like, oh, you both need to get along. No, this person's wrong. This is not just we're both just not getting along. Now you're trying to me with their wrongdoing. And pretty much you're just saying, hey, I don't want to pick a side. I want to just be a fence rider. And I hate fence riders because they create an ecosystem for cruelty to flourish, because then the wickedry could just keep moving because no one's going to hold them accountable. Yeah, the few who are stand-up individuals or 10 toes down are going to hold them accountable, but sometimes it's not enough. You need the people's the people's court of opinion. But when people don't have an opinion of their own and they only go off of trends and only go off what the narrative is by the elite class, then it's like it's really scary, because then it's like, okay, then really it's shit. Because it's like it's easier to be wicked than to be good, because wicked is always going to seduce you with easy, immediate gratification. Where good is long term. It's like with immediate punishment. It's like, you want to get muscles, the good way, you're going to have to put in the hours. You're going to have to go through the pain, But if you want to do it the wrong way, you could do some steroids and, do a bunch of drugs, to hype yourself up, Damn, that mosquito bit the hell out of me. Pissed me off. Or that was an ant. I think that was an ant. There's a bunch of ants here. Yep. Damn, ants are crawling all over me now. What is nature? It's part of being in the woods. So you're gonna deal with bugs. And that's the thing right there. It shows you, like, if you want something natural, you're gonna have to go through the immediate bullshit. It'll be more comfortable to sit in a house. It'd be more comfortable just to sit, in my living room. But I wouldn't be getting the sun. I wouldn't be getting nature. I wouldn't be getting fresh air. So good things come with sacrifice, and bad things too. It's just what do you want, short-term gain, or long-term gain. It's like life is really like the tortoise and the hare. Look at that, this blue dragonfly is really beautiful. And yeah, that's another thing. It's just so many beautiful things I see out here, and it's just, I need this time to myself in order to appreciate life. I need this time to myself to appreciate life and just, remember who I am. Because life, when you're at home or you're at work, or you're at an event or whatever, it's like people distract you with their nonsense. It's like people are so desperate for attention. It's like people just don't enjoy each other's company. It's like they want to be the center of attention. And then it becomes a competition of who's more important. And it gets exhausting. Even talking to people, it's like people don't listen to you. It's almost like they're waiting for their turn to talk. They'll literally sit there, and it's almost like they're just sitting there thinking about what they're gonna say. And sometimes they're so rude that they'll literally deviate the entire conversation into something that has nothing to do with what you're talking about, so that they can talk about what they want to talk about. And it's like, why are we talking? It's like we're not. I know this is not a conversation. You're just using me as a ear to talk to, and it's like and it sucks because you will listen to them, when they're talking, and you even if it's something you're not interested in, you try to participate, and then when it's like, okay, and then when it's your turn to talk and you're putting your 2 cents in, and it could be still on the same topic. It's like, if it's not something they like, it's almost like, okay, and then people sometimes will talk over you, and that's another thing I hate. It's like, even in podcasts, I hear podcasts sometimes, like, some people are just so egotistical, they'll like talk over their guests and stuff, like literally just keep talking over people. And it's like, why do you have us here if you're gonna talk the entire time? Make a damn audiobook and make a damn journal for yourself, and make a podcast on your own. You don't need to have guests or a co-host who's just sitting there just basically saying, yeah. I think people just want people to hear them talk. And I'm just like, I don't need people to hear me talk. I talk to myself. And I know that looks insane to others, but I know I'm not crazy. I know it's not like I'm sitting here having like, like full on conversations with myself in front of people while they're looking at me like, okay. It's like, no, I know when to stop talking to myself, like when I'm around people. Even when I do live streams and I'm walking by myself talking, I stop talking because it looks like I'm crazy. I'm self-aware, you know, but I talk to myself because, it feels like I want to get to know myself because I spent so many years chasing everybody else and trying to understand everybody else, and I've not accomplished anyone. I have not accomplished understanding anyone in my life. Everyone I've met, you know, it's like there's always a surprise. There's always something, and even if it's not a surprise, it's like I still don't understand why they do what they do. Like, it's just, sure, I meet some people that are good, and then it's like, take that back. I met some people who I understand, and I think those people are genuine and authentic, honest people. But that's rare. I rarely see people like that. I rarely see authentic, honest, genuine people, especially nowadays. Maybe more when I was younger, but it's like over the years, it's just getting more and more. Whereas it's not common. It's just young people, old people. It's just like, if people say, it's not no like old people are wiser than young people. No, this ain't no ages thing. It's everybody watches TikTok. Everybody has a short attention span. Even old people do. So it's like we're living in a I don't know, man. But we gotta just stay positive and find peace within ourselves,
Man.
And if you need to go out in nature, just it really, I mean, it does help to genuinely touch grass. It does help. It's good to get the sun. I'm trying to cut back on drinking. I have a drinking problem. I really do. And I'm trying to stop. But I think it's easier when I just isolate myself. Like when I was chasing people, man, I think if I keep trying to be a people pleaser, if I keep trying to get everybody's approval, if I keep trying to find friends or get in relationships, or keep my family connected, I am literally going to drink myself into an early grave. Because it's just like, it just feels like I'm losing myself. And for what? For people who are not even alive themselves. Like, I do all these things for friendship, just for people to betray me, to talk bad about me to my face in front of other people, front me off, to be in a relationship with someone I think cares about me and loves me, and just for them to sleep with someone else just because they get bored. They found someone who's more exciting. It's like people just don't stick around. People just don't. If you're bored, it's like, okay, but it's like, I'm bored. It's like, and the thing is, like, I think it's easier for females to have more of an option. Attractive females have way more choices than dudes. So it's just like, it's just not worth it getting in a relationship, because it's like, I find it, like, if you're gonna get in a relationship and you want a relationship that's gonna be long term and with someone who really cares about you, you have to be with someone who's really authentic and genuine. That's just not a commonality, and that goes between men and women. So it's just like, good luck with that. You're gonna get a lot of heartache. You're gonna get a lot of disappointment. That's all I can say. So it's just like, I'm 30 years old. I'm happy by myself. I'm trying to just keep my spirit up. I'm trying to go out more. I just got my, license. Well, I've had my license. I just got, I'm just getting a copy of it. I didn't have it for a while, but I've had it for a while, but it was like a year ago that I didn't have it. Either way, I'm waiting to get a copy of my license. I just want to, if I have to, I'm gonna get rental cars and go on trips, go to hotels. I really want to do more vlogs, like, and I like making my own videos, like editing videos too. So, I really don't want to just do live streams all the time. I think it gets kind of lazy, and it just, I know a lot of people do it because it's a good way to get views, but then you just become someone who's chasing the views, and I'm not. Yeah, I like views. It feels good. It's a dopamine hit. No, I would sit here. I'll be lying. I'm like, I don't like the views. I'm strictly about art, and no, I like views. I'm not gonna lie. I was about to, but I just want to be honest. But yeah, I like the views, but at the same time, I don't want to be like that. I want to do the opposite of what I like, you know, because even though we like doing something, I've learned that it doesn't mean it's good for us. You know, I like laying in my room and watching TV. I don't like going outside and walking and getting sore, but it feels good after I do. Mentally, I don't want to go out and do this, you know, but when I do it, I'm like, wow, this is good. I like this. You know, I have another taco while they're warm. I got bumps all over my legs. You know, these bumps are just way more peaceful to be by yourself, man. Really. It's way more peaceful to be by yourself than to deal with people who are just lost, complicated, you know, toxic, dangerous, you know. It's just way more, it's just easier, bro. Life is too short, you know, and it sucks because as humans, I do believe that we want a connection, we want a community, we want a tribe, you know, and I think for a long time we had that, you know, because it was almost a necessity, you know, like it wasn't almost, it was a necessity, really, you know. It's just like, because, you know, you needed people who were like, you know, knew about medicine, you need people who knew about, like, you know, hunting, you need people who knew about, like, you know, architecture, you know, you needed stuff like that, you needed builders, you needed, like, you know. But now, due to convenience, you know, people don't feel like they have to contribute, you know, as a person in a group. They feel like it's about status. Now it's not about what you contribute to the group, it's about what you represent to the group. Who, you know, how popular are you in the group? You know, and I don't know what it is. It'll be the most cute, adorable females that'll get with the most toxic, shitty. I understand a chick wants to get a guy who's masculine looking, but it's like one thing to get a guy who is masculine, and then get a guy who's just like America's top most wanted. Like, why do you have to get someone who's like dangerous? I don't get it. Like, why? And then these chicks be like, he's hot. Oh my God, he's so hot. And I'm like, this guy looks like he just got a fucking Arkham Asylum. And it's not just a few, it's a lot of girls that are like that, bro. I don't know if it's just because, again, it's like we have been so detached from the real world that they want that primal man, they want that, you know, primitive caveman, you know, just to feel that, you know, to feel like a woman or something, like a sexual desire. You know, and I think there is a problem with a lot of men. I think a lot of men are too. I wouldn't call it femininity. I don't like that, because then it's like you're antagonizing feminine men. And being a feminine man doesn't mean you're weak. I've seen some feminine men who are way more strong than some of these quote-unquote masculine men. You know, being masculine doesn't mean you could be masculine and still be a fucking coward. You know, you could be feminine and be brave as hell. You know, and being masculine doesn't mean you're brave. It just means that's just your characteristic that you carry on your daily. That's how you behave on a daily basis, is masculinely. You know, women can act masculine. It's just a behavior. You know, so I don't really like the say femininity. You know, but I would say more of this docileness, more of this like kind of like cuck energy. Just, you know, it's not feminine. It's literally like a cuck almost. It's just like this uberly weak man. You know, that's what I think. It's not feminine, it's just weak, you know. And I don't think femininity is weak, you know. So this thing is a lot of weak men, you know. They're just very docile, very domesticated, very, okay, alright, okay, okie dokie, alrighty. And then you wonder why women want to get with these guys who are like bend them over and like choke them and stuff. Because they want some grit. They want you to be like, they want a man to be like, shut the fuck up once in a while. You know, they don't want a man that's like, okay, honey, well, can you stop yelling? Okay, well, you know, you're clearly having a moment. I'm just gonna leave. No, they want the man that's gonna kind of like put them in place, say, bitch, shut the fuck up. You know, sometimes they want that, you know, and it's not like, it's like, of course, I'm not saying if it's a toxic man who's like just verbally abusing her, but that's why women almost test men, because they want that. They want to see if you're gonna be a man, you know, and it's like, that's why I get it. Doesn't mean it's right, and I think as a woman, you should be mature enough to know, you know, and you should be more observant. You know, you should be, you know, in life, you should be assessing him and how he's taking care of things in life around other men, or how he handles problems. You know, you shouldn't judge it on, oh, let me piss him off and see if he's gonna react aggressively. You know, that's just, no, you're just stressing him out. That's not necessary. The world is gonna test him. You need to be witnessing him and how he's handling the world. If that's how you know if he's a real man or not. You don't need to do that. You know, you're just being a pain in the ass. That's what you're doing. You know, that's not necessary. Damn, I have like all the damn bugs in the universe coming at me. I guess they like me. But yeah, you know, to wrap this all up, you know, because this video is gonna be a while. But you know, I like making videos any length. I don't make videos in, in like a certain format. I like to do things like off the dome, improvise. But yeah, to end this off, man, I just enjoy my peace more than anything, and I've made a decision that my peace is my only priority. Is my only priority. Is over a job. Is over my family. Is over my friends. Is over a relationship. It's over my everywhere. A home, a car. My peace is over anything that takes from it. And I think you just gotta move through life like a Jedi Knight. You have to be in a state of peace at all times. You can't let the world's troubles guide you. You can't let the world's troubles mislead you. Live in the world, but don't be of the world. That's what I would say. Live in this world, but do not be of this world. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel tremendously. I know it's cliche to say, but I gotta do that. Just it's just part of business, and this is kind of like a business thing too. It's art and business. I could balance the two, unlike some people. But yeah, guys, this video is really for people like me who are tired of the world, tired of society, tired of the Epstein class, tired of the Neanderthalic, barbaric, heathenistic men, and the harlot, lustful whores for women. At this point, I'm just I'm good. I think I'm blessed to be 30 years old. I almost died 2 years ago in a car accident. I gotta go to the doctor for my ribs still, because I think I definitely broke some ribs, and I think it's just getting worse the more I go on. So I'm gonna definitely go to the doctor eventually. Dang it. Get a checkup, and might have to get surgery. But I just want to, I'm more willing to approach that when I have peace. It's hard to go to the hospital, focus on these things, like going on and checking on your health, when you're just constantly overwhelmed, because it's like I can't take another bad news. But if it's peace, if I'm at peace, I can handle it, because then I know I'm at peace. I know that I know that I'm gonna face whatever's coming, but yet I'm still gonna be at peace. As long as I'm around people who do not respect my time and my peace, I will not have peace, and I will not have joy and love in my heart. And I'm tired of living this life miserable and depressed. I love being happy. I love being joyful. I'm not gonna let family, friends, girlfriends, anyone take that from me ever again. If that's the last thing I do in this life, I will make sure I have joy and peace before I leave this earth. Sure, there'll be bad days, sure there'll be pain, but all I want is peace. And if God willing, I get a family, then so be it. But if I don't, so be it. And there's nothing bad about that. That's good. I have more than enough. And I have been given more than enough in this life. 30 years of a beautiful experience, and hopefully I have some more to go. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna wrap this video. Have yourself a good day. Stay safe. Until next time, I love you all. Peace.